Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. With all of this talk of infrastructure investments, what's in it for the ordinary Filipino? Let's now have an exchange with think tank Infrawatch PH convenor, Terry Ridon. Terry, great to have you with us on the program, live here in the studio. What is your assessment of the Marcos administration's investment infrastructure strategy?
Well, I think what the President had said has been very clear. He wants to undertake PPPs, he wants to undertake ODAs, and he wants to undertake different types of financing for his infrastructure program. I think this mix of financing is very important because this is a departure from what the previous government had done. Because they had focused more on the ODAs and on the bilateral deals with different countries.
All right. We had earlier Finance Secretary Ben Jokno, and he mentioned about the many funding strategies. Should we really use government funding for our infrastructure, or should we rely on the private partnership investments, the bilateral deals, and the ODAs?
Well, I think to be perfectly clear, PPPs are only viable for actually commercially viable projects. So in other areas of infrastructure development and in general development, there are projects that can only be undertaken by government funding itself or by borrowing through ODA, particularly in still emerging regions, in still emerging areas like in the provinces. So I think it is absolutely necessary that both types of funding should be undertaken by government.
Which infrastructure projects, in your view, will be going to the private sector?
Well, I think one of it would be the NAIA Rehabilitation. And I think this is something in which the President will be able to make a difference because the previous government, in fact, shelved all attempts to redevelop NAIA with the private sector.
Do you think that this should all go through a bidding process? Or if there's one huge conglomerate that really wants to make that investment, then they should partner with the government?
Well, it depends on how, it depends on the appetite of the private sector. So if there is a consortium like in previous time that really wanted to undertake to provide a proposal that is original, that is just from them, I think they should be allowed to do so. But government can also undertake the general type of procurement for this type of project.
What is your sense right now, Terry? Is the private sector excited about these PPP projects that the government is offering?
Well, I think there is an appetite for undertaking the PPPs, particularly if it is really commercially viable for them. As an example, aside from the NAIA redevelopment, we're also talking about the EDSA busway development project. So I think these two projects are projects which the private sector are really excited about.
In the previous segment, we spoke with JICA Philippines Chief Representative Takema Sakamoto, and he said the country's infrastructure programs are lagging behind our Southeast Asian neighbors. Do you agree?
Well, definitely. And the reason for that has been as old as time. It has always been because of bureaucratic red tape at all levels of government, not just at the highest level, but also at the local government level. We are talking about numerous various permits from the level of the barangay, even up at the level of Congress, as an example, for a congressional franchise.
Apart from bureaucracy, is corruption, extortion also an issue?
Well, most definitely, and even at all levels of government. So we are talking about unscrupulous government officials delaying, for example, the release of permits, waiting for the private sector, for example, to approach them and ask them to expedite and help them out. So these are things that should be resolved in the next couple of years.
So Terry, does this turn off foreign investors? I mean, we're seeing the President making close to 10 travels already overseas, trying to attract investors. The economic team was just recently in Washington, D.C. With these kinds of bureaucratic red tape and corruption, will foreign investors really want to put their money in Philippine infrastructure?
Well, most certainly, this is a stumbling block, not just for foreign investment, but even for domestic investment. Because the question for investors is, would I invest in the Philippines, where you have these problems, or will I invest somewhere else, somewhere around the world, even in other emerging economies?
That's why we are lagging behind our Southeast Asian neighbors. What projects, including soft infrastructure ones, should the Marcos administration implement as well, apart from the big major ticket items to boost economic growth?
Well, I think a very important aspect in infrastructure development has also been the focus on social housing. Very important that we are able to provide millions of homes to marginalized families, and this is being undertaken by the housing agencies at the moment. No? So I think it's important to have a good focus on that. But more importantly, even if we proceed with PPPs or ODAs, most important would be making sure that social and environmental safeguards are being implemented in all of these projects.
And Terry, of course, the bottom line is, how will it benefit our kababayans? Will these infrastructure projects of the Marcos Jr. administration have an impact on you and I over the next 6 years?
Well, if we're talking about the railways, no? We're talking about railways that would be expanded to northern Metro Manila, to southern Metro Manila, and even to adjacent areas. I think we would see tremendous economic growth if you're talking about an expansion of the railways from Manila to Bulacan to Clark, and from Manila to Bicol. So I think we are talking about these types of real day-to-day impact on the lives of ordinary Filipinos.
Great to have you with us, Terry. Thank you so much for this Infrastructure Impact Exchange. Infrawatch PH convener Terry Ridon. And before we go, here are words from UN official Winnie Byanyima on infrastructure. Investing in vital infrastructure will help to build more sustainable, equitable economies. And this is the exchange to make sense of the facts and the figures and the ups and downs of the business cycle, because your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Thanks for watching CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust.